Hi, I'm Nate Seberg, and this is One Day Ahead. Welcome to the summary and analysis of Romeo and Juliet, Act 4, Scenes 3 through 5. Quick reminder, this is not a spoiler-free video. Fair warning, but if you're good to go, then grab a femur and raise a vial as we dive into Romeo and Juliet, Act 4, Scenes 3 through 5. Act 4, Scene 3 opens to the nurse and Juliet picking out wedding clothes. Juliet asks to sleep alone because she has been so sinful in not wanting to marry Barris that she needs to pray. Finally alone, we get a moment to consider the choice that faces Juliet. She delivers a soliloquy which is going to walk us through 5 ways this could go wrong, each more terrifying than the next. Here we go. Come, vial. What if this mixture do not work at all? Shall I be married then tomorrow morning? Here she pulls out a dagger and lays it on the bed. No, this shall forbid it. Lie thou there. So number 1, what if it doesn't work? I'll kill myself. Got it. On to number 2. What if it be a poison, which the friar subtly hath ministered to have me dead, lest in this marriage he should be dishonored because he married me before to Romeo? Well, there's a thought. That would really change up the friar's role in this play. This evil friar doing evil stuff, talking to plants. This play is missing a classical villain, so I guess it's possible. I fear it is, and yet methinks it should not, for he hath been tried a holy man. Has he, though? Possibility 3. How if, when I am laid into the tomb, I wake before the time that Romeo come to redeem me? There's a fearful point. Shall I not then be stifled in the vault, in whose foul mouth no healthsome air breathes in? And there die strangled ere my Romeo comes? So that's number 3, buried alive and then suffocating. But do you know what would be worse than suffocating in there? What if I don't? What if I survive and the tomb is full of ghosts? That's number 4. Or if I live, is it not very like the horrible conceit of death and night, together with the terrors of that place, as in that vault an ancient receptacle where, for these many hundreds years, the bones of all my buried ancestors are packed? Where bloody Tybalt, yet but green in earth, lies festering in his shroud, where, as they say, at some hours in the night spirits resort? I could be locked in and tormented by my dead ancestors, including Tybalt. And finally, number 5, what if, buried alive, tormented by ghosts, I go mad? Alack, is it not like that I, so early waking, what with loathsome smells, and shrieks like mandrakes torn out of the earth, that living mortals hearing them run mad? Or if I wake, shall I not be distraught, environed with all these hideous fears, and madly play with my forefathers' joints, and pluck the mangled Tybalt from his shroud, and in this rage with some great kinsman's bone, as with a club, dash out my desperate brains? Holy smokes, could I run so mad that I end up giggling while playing with my ancestors' joints, and then I pick up like a femur or something and I use it to dash out my own brains? Goodness. So that's 5 ways that this could go very, very wrong. It doesn't work and she stabs herself. It's actually poison so the friar can save face. It does work, but she awakes too early and suffocates, or she wakes too early, doesn't suffocate, and is haunted by ghosts of her forebears, or she wakes up, does not suffocate, goes mad, plays with the ancestors' joints, and goes clubbing. And with all of that considered, knowing fully well the stakes of this irreversible decision, this girl pulls the stopper from the vial, toasts to Romeo, and drinks it down. Good God. This is obviously a terrible decision, but you cannot deny she's got guts. Very plucky. I like what I'm seeing here. Moving on, Act 4, Scene 4 is utterly skippable. It's 3 in the morning and the household is in an uproar, racing to prepare for a wedding that isn't coming. It ends with the nurse heading upstairs to wake up Juliet. In Act 4, Scene 5, they find Juliet dead, and this is gonna sound terrible. I hope we've built up some level of rapport here, but it's kind of funny. Obviously, the household needs to realize she's dead, but Shakespeare has them coming up one at a time to find out. And each one starts all hopeful, like, let's get you married. And then we watch them learn the truth and they fall apart. And the minute they realize the terrible truth, the moment they get it, in comes the next character who's still back at stage 1 excitement. We do this for the nurse, for Lady Capulet, then Mr. Capulet, then Paris, and then the last character to show up is Friar Lawrence, which means, like, has this guy been downstairs the entire time, just sending people up, hearing them cry out and being like, maybe you should check on that? No. One at a time. It's dark, but it's funny. And when each character does find out, well, do you know how when you right click on a word and you go to synonyms and it gives you a list that makes your writing sound much smarter? That's basically what happens every time a character learns that she's dead. Look at these words that appear in this scene. Shakespeare is basically seeing how many words for bad thing he knows. With all the characters on stage, the friar takes over and commands people to stop yelling synonyms. Peace, ho, for shame! Confusion's cure lives not in these confusions. Heaven and yourself had part in this fair maid, now heaven hath all, and all the better is it for the maid. Your part in her you could not keep from death, but heaven keeps his part in eternal life. He's basically like, listen, we're all dressed up. We already booked the church. We got flowers. Guys, this could be worse. We need a box and to update the program slightly. They form a procession and leave for the church, and that is Act 4, scenes 3 through 5. So if we really want to understand Shakespeare, we gotta get deeper than just plot. Let's do a little analysis. Juliet's decision in Act 4, Scene 3 is obviously fraught. She spends 43 lines fretting over the ways that this could go seriously sideways. But for all the equal parts courage and stupidity that this decision required, it serves most of all to demonstrate her independence. This whole play really tracks the self-actualization of this rich girl as she separates from her parents and societal expectations and takes responsibility for her own life, which is great. I mean, it gets her killed, so that's a bummer. I never said she was smart. I mean, her decisions are terrible, but they are hers. And this context makes me love line 17 so much. When in a moment of weakness, she calls out for the nurse. Because it's a reflex. She is scared and facing a daunting moment, and so she reaches out for the comfort of her true mother figure. And I love this because Juliet is a badass. She knows what she wants, grabs the steering wheel of her life at 13, defies all convention and expectations, dominates every conversation, and is honestly a little hard for me to relate to. This moment, this call to the nurse, it's only a reflex, it's a momentary thing, and she's able to master it, but I need it. I need her to crack just enough for me to see that she is human. And after, as she faces the reality of what might be coming, she's resolute in her path and shows herself to no longer be a teenage girl, but a woman and a wife who is the master of her fate. Sort of, in the very, very short term. Next up, check out Paris's reaction to finding Juliet dead. It's easy to miss because at this point, everyone on the stage is yelling words that mean like, oh no. Beguiled, divorced, wrong, spited, slain. Most detestable death, by thee beguiled, by cruel, cruel thee quite overthrown. O love, O life, not life, but love in death. If I'm honest, to this point, I've not really thought about this guy beyond him being a narrative device. He's only here to add urgency and keep the plot a-moving. He's coming to marry you tomorrow, like, But to the extent that I have, I was assuming that this marriage was a financial situation for him. I didn't think Juliet the girl actually had much to do with it beyond her last name and the wealth that would accompany this union. But then we get this, and it feels pretty genuine. He seems legitimately upset about her, and on one hand, like, what's he gonna say? While everyone is cursing fate and sobbing out their grief, he can't get up there and yell like, my financial prospects, my long-term monetary outlook is significantly diminished. Anyway, he really does seem sad. That's all I'm saying. Finally, eagle-eyed readers will have noticed that I skipped a big chunk of text, 41 lines at the end of Act 4, Scene 5. After the funeral procession leaves to the church with Juliet's body, the action stays behind with the musicians who have been hired to play for the wedding that is no longer happening. I skipped it for the reason that most productions do too. There's value there, but 41 lines is a lot, and the payoff isn't huge. Also, it's a bit tasteless. The musicians trade insults with a household servant, everyone is witty and does the wordplay thing, and mostly they are bummed out that they won't get paid. This on the heels of Juliet's death, it lacks tact. But maybe that observation is the point of the section. This whole play is about these two rich families, and it's easy to get swept up into their drama and forget about the rest of the city. While this is undeniably a tragedy for the Capulets, perhaps we are supposed to realize that the other levels of this stratified society simply don't care. And that's Act 4, Scenes 3 through 5. Thank you for watching. Next episode, we head to Act 5, Scenes 1 and 2. We'll see you next time on One Day Ahead.